All right, keeping up with our theme of Pain Awareness Month for September, I want to talk about the topic of moodiness and chronic pain, and specifically the motivation that if you feel like chronic pain has become a state of mind for you, this is real and supported in the research and in the experience of many, many people with chronic pain. And so I'm speaking both to my friends who are on a chronic pain journey right now, as well as their caregivers and loved ones who may experience moments of kind of snappiness and anger. And I want to acknowledge that that is a difficult experience both for the pain sufferer and the caregiver. And it is also a very common experience for both the pain sufferer and the caregiver. So acknowledging that that's a reality and recognizing that there are some things that we can do. So first of all, I think it's important to understand that, at least in my experience, when a person reacts in a snappy way, who is a pain sufferer, there is probably something underneath the reaction that has nothing to do with actually what's being discussed. And in my world, what that usually means is that I've asked someone to do something that stirs up fear, fear of the pain getting worse, fear of maybe being unable to do something or having to come face to face with the grief of that is no longer something I can easily do and it used to be something I loved. So I have been in many situations with clients who have snapped at me in a session, and it's become sort of just um, a part of the way of working and kind of understanding that that has nothing to do with me or the service I'm providing, but it has to do with something that is causing, distress underneath. And so what I usually try to do in that moment is kind of get to the point of, okay, what I've asked you to do obviously is causing you distress or fear. Can we talk about what that is? Does this feel like too much of a reach right now? Would you like to do something that's in your, refuge toolbox? We talk about that in the book, sort of the movements that really are soothing. Maybe we should go back there. It might be a sign to me that I'm pushing too hard. Now, in a personal interaction where there's more at stake, that can be really difficult to separate yourself from the interaction to kind of step back and say, all I did was ask them if they wanted to go to the grocery store or go to get dinner. Like, why is this person biting my head off? Um, and really, it may come from a place of like, I really want to be able to treat you to dinner tonight, and I can't bear the thought of standing in the kitchen, and that breaks my heart, and I have a lot of grief. That doesn't make it okay, right? I'm not asking caregivers to stand up and accept any kind of, abuse from anybody. But I think it's helpful when you love someone who is going through that experience, and I have been that person that snaps before. And I think that's when I came face to face with this as a movement teacher with people in pain and I saw it happening. It felt very familiar to me. And there was a little bit of shame there in terms of recognizing that I have been that way with people. But to whatever degree you can kind of diffuse the situation by trying to bring the person back to, did something I ask of you conjure up feelings of fear or grief for you? Or, is there something lying underneath this reaction that we can talk about? Because right now it's feeling kind of hurtful. And, of course, I'm not a therapist or counselor, so I highly recommend, involving someone who has expertise in this area. But since it's Pain Awareness Month and this is a part of the pain experience that I think we need to talk about because it affects our relationships and it affects the people around us. And there are so many caregivers out there who may not even realize the burden that they're taking on as they help somebody go through a chronic pain experience. And in truth, like most of us who went through a chronic pain experience at some point may need to turn and help our partners out because chronic pain does come up. A persistent pain happens to about a third of the population at any given moment. And low back pain in particular is supposed to affect, I don't know, I don't remember the numbers, 70 to 80% of adults in the US. So this is part of, unfortunately, the modern kind of side of our long lifespan, and we need tools to cope with the kind of peripheral effects. such as how relationships may be strained in this way. So I think just maybe this is an opportunity to step back and acknowledge some of that challenge that you've been experiencing with a loved one, and kind of putting it in the context of we're not just having an arbitrary disagreement, but this is a result of the mood of chronic pain, in which the person's frame of the reference and their view of the world, their experience of the world, is colored by chronic pain as a state of mind. And I think that it's really enlightening when they look at brain scans and they see how acute pain kind of shows up with activity in one part of the brain. But when it becomes chronic, it starts to shift into the emotional regulation part of the brain, the parts of the brain usually responsible for that, which is kind of indicative of the fact that it becomes part of who you are and it's not just how you observe, right? It's not like external to you. The pain is how you feel. So that's really interesting. And there's lots of other people with lots more experience on these various topics I brought up today who are, certainly better educated on the topic, and I'm happy to refer out. But I mean, motivation is for this week is to really take care of each other and see how pain is the culprit, not the person. Yeah, talk to you next week.